In 2015, the demographic health survey conducted by UNICEF estimated that 13.2 million children are out of school or living on the streets in Nigeria. And I mean, this has been an ongoing crisis that we think has to be addressed. And we have with us Modupe Alakiu Ajibola. She is the founder of StreetKids Matter, an NGO committed to supporting vulnerable children living on the streets of Lagos. She works to reunite children with their families, offer them education, provide safe education for children from homeless families, ensuring that they are cared for and supported. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm doing very well.
I mean, I feel like the children living on the streets has become more of a pandemic because it not only affects, security, it also borders on infrastructure and even how we function in our day-to-day lives. Because just driving randomly on the streets of Lagos, you see a little child just come and knock on your door. So sometimes it's not even about them not having a place to live. We've seen some of these children being exploited by adults. We've seen them being used as a means of livelihood, even by their parents. So this has not just become a societal issue, it's over time becoming a national issue. And from your experience working with children since 2020, how do you think that this issue, first off, can be curbed? How can we control it, not just as a society, but even as a country?
Okay, thank you. I think in general, we tend to see the children as a problem rather than seeing them as vulnerable children.
Right.
And there are solutions to that. Yes, there's child exploitation going on, but some of the children have just found themselves in unfortunate situations.
Right.
And one thing we found is that we've met 4 different types of children. So you have children who are on the street that go back in the night, they go back home at night. You have children who are runaway children. So you pick them off the street, you return them, and then they're back on the street as well. Then you have children who can't even be associated with their families, so to say. And you have children, and part of those children are children coming out of Nigeria. We've met children from Cotonou, Togo, Mali, sleeping on the street. And then you also have children of homeless families on the street as well. So the solution differs for each of the children. I think with the children who have families sleeping on the street, you really need to provide accommodation for them. Some of them work, some of them don't, so they're not always exploiting their children. Some are still not on the minimum wage and are just unable to send their children, to send their children to school. And you may say, "Oh, we've got free education," but free education needs to be free, not just per policy or as per paying school fees. But some of them can't afford to buy school uniform. They can't afford to buy school shoes. They can't afford school bags, or
the resources they need.
Or the resources they need. So that again is an issue that needs to be tackled. Education needs to be totally free. And aside from being free, you can't expect a child that has not eaten to learn. We've had scenarios where we've picked up children, returned them back to their parents, and we're sponsoring their school fees, and then they run off again, only to find out that they're probably eating just once a day, so they feel they need to go back to the street and also more. So essentially, feeding the children has to be part of it. If we're able to get the children into school and give them breakfast and lunch, they will stay in school. A lot of the children we meet do really want to stay in school. And then there are other options as well. For instance, some children go to school, but they end up sleeping on the street. They're sleeping on the beach as well. And you find that there are lots of schools where there's empty spaces. It might be an opportunity to just create dormitories. We can use shipping containers to create dormitories. UN does that, in terms of rehabilitating children. And they could be on the school premises. They have their breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're able to focus on school. So those are options as well that we need to consider.
Right.
Some children are past they've passed by the age of going back to school.
Right.
We need to have a syllabus for them that, you know, that includes literacy, numeracy, and vocational courses.
Right.
And there have to be vocational courses that are relevant to us. So things like solar installation, we need more of that. Farming, IT, teaching them how to create content. So they're not just marketable back in Nigeria, but they're marketable
all
globally as well. So as opposed to seeing the children as, you know, as nuisances, if I can use that word, I think we need to look at them as children who are vulnerable. Some of them have not asked to be in that situation that they found themselves.
You said something about, you know, sometimes taking in some of these kids and then they still go back to the street, which of course borders on their orientation. Is that something that, you know, your foundation focuses on in terms of, you know, taking them through therapy, because it becomes a mental issue, you know, at that point, you know, having to orientate them and you know, to keep orientating them. So is that something that, you know, your foundation also focuses on? Yes,
definitely. So like I mentioned, the example I gave you about the child that ran away from home, and we found that he left home because he was only feeding once a day. I think, believe it or not, food is important to children. If you feed them, a lot of them want to go to school. You know, some of the street children just feel like school is some fancy thing, and the opportunity to be able to go to a school, not just a school, but, you know, a good school where teachers show up, because we also have people coming to us and say, oh, I want to change my child's school. Because, you know, the teacher does not come in regularly, and I just feel like we shouldn't discard what we have. We also need to look at how we can improve those schools as well. Part of it could be having digital solutions. So, like I was saying earlier, we have the Oak National Academy in the UK, which consists of lessons, and it covers all the syllabus right from nursery school up to primary school. We need to have a Nigerian version of that, which means that a child, whether they're in the remote corners of the country or in a place where they've got internet, they've got access to this learning, and to standardize it as well, the learning, you know, whatever, so that a child going to a public school and a private school are learning essentially the same thing. The comfort may differ, but they're learning essentially the same thing. So yes, we do provide therapy for the children, but a lot of the children do really want to go to school. Before we return a child, we also provide therapy to the parents as well. So we would invite the parent and the child. We'll speak to the child, find out where things are falling apart, and also speak to the parents. And for those at home as well, you know, we talk to them. Therapy is very important. Some of our children have been molested, you know, and you have to provide the counseling, and it's also providing a lot of love as well. A hug means a lot to these children. They want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, they want to feel loved, they want to feel special. They're like any normal children.
I mean, we're talking about this now because yesterday was commemorated to, you know, celebrate children all around the world. And I know that, you know, you did something with kids in Aja. Talk to us quickly about, you know, what you did for these kids and some of the amenities that you also provided for these kids.
So we went to, our outreach was at General Paint at Aja. We also went to Aja Market. We went to Oniru Beach and Ikate, reached out to the street kids there. So General Paint itself is like a massive city. It's really a shanty, so to say, yes. And they're close to, I understand there are over 800 children, if not more, that sleep there. Some of them sleep in the stores, so to say, but quite a few of them sleep on the street. They have their own government, if I can put it that way. They have a Seriki.
Like a system.
Yeah, they have a system. They have a Seriki who is like the king of the... Yeah, and they've got community police as well. Yes, so before we could go in, we had to speak to the Seriki, and, you know, he provided us with community police. That meant that, you know, we could do...
You could do what you needed
what we needed to do. So there are lots of children there. Unfortunately, there are no schools. So those that go to school have to travel, and except their parents can afford transportation, most of the children don't go to school. There is a church. There are 3 churches in there. One of the church has a school, but a lot of the children in the community can't afford it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, what came out of that really was recognizing the children in need, and the children that are currently homeless and sleeping on the street. We met some of their parents, and we're going to try and provide accommodation for them, send them to school, look after their medical health. And we do this through our virtual parents.
Wow.
A virtual parent is really, we don't like to use the word mentor or sponsor, because they do more than that. They call them on a regular basis, on video call, WhatsApp call. They look after their needs, encourage them, make them feel loved, seen and heard, and so to say. So we assign virtual parents to them, and they go to school. So we're planning to do that with the children who are homeless and sleeping on the street. The other children who are living in shanties and they're not in school, what we want to do is, we spoke to one of the pastors there, and together with the officials,
Right.
we want to use the space there as an informal space for education for the children.
Okay, but so this is an ongoing project.
That's an ongoing program.
I mean, what you're doing is very laudable. First off, it's never easy dealing with kids, especially vulnerable kids. So I applaud you and wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
I think this will also be an opportunity to also reach out to Nigerians who are interested in supporting these kids. And thank you so much, Modupe, for coming to share with us today on the show.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we have Bigiano coming up right next on the show. You don't want to go anywhere. You want to stick around for that conversation. We'll be right back.